Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Oye Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar and 11/6/2025 in the foreign Roman Catholic calendar. Remember, the reason we are giving you both days is for you to know that before the arrival of the colonial masters with their calendar, we have our lunar calendar, which follows the natural process. And also, at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call Akonuche in Igbo language. And we are here to decolonize your mindset, to get you out of mental slavery by presenting information to you from the Igbo man, from Biafran and African perspectives, because you see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. That is why we have been encouraging you to join us, subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell button on the YouTube so that you can get all new lectures and go back to our previous lectures. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, because the way we package our lectures and present them is from the Igbo man, Biafran, and African perspective. How you should be seeing things. You see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. And therefore, we are advising you to please like, comment, and share. Share this lecture to get to everybody. And the title of today's lecture is the analysis of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu trial of 11/4, 11/4, and 11/5, which continue to show that there's no hope for justice for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We at Nkolo Mahadum have decided to be following this case and be bringing our interpretation of how it is going to you. Because what you see going on in the Federal High Court Abuja is between Biafra, the Biafran nation, represented by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the Nigerian nation in the Nigerian courts. And you know that in the Nigerian courts, the Nigerian government will do everything to win in their own courts, even if they don't have any case. That is the dilemma. That is the challenges that Nnamdi Kanu and the Biafran nation is facing in the Nigerian courts. And that shows the highest drama, the highest, show of shame that is going on, that went on 11/4 and 11/5. That is what we want to present to you. That what happened on 11/4 was that Nnamdi Kanu walked into the courtroom briskly, prepared to represent himself, because he has decided to represent himself, because every other lawyer trying to represent him have Nigerian interests behind. And he discovered that and decided to be his own lawyer. And so when he entered on the 4th of November, just 2 days ago, what Nnamdi Kanu insisted was, show me the law. Show me the law that you are trying me with, and I will defend myself. Nnamdi Kanu stated, show me the law. You don't have a law you are trying me on. What am I doing here? Show me the law and I will defend myself. That was the first thing that he said. And then another thing that he said is that, my Lord, referring to Justice Omotosho, who is in charge of that Federal High Court, my Lord, there's no charge against me. Not one. Nnamdi Kanu told Justice Omotosho that, my Lord, there's no charge against me. Not even one charge. And then he let Justice Omotosho know that this his federal high court has no jurisdiction. Remember, the first day Nnamdi Kanu started to defend himself, that was what he said, that this court has no jurisdiction. What it means that the court is not qualified to, to be trying him. That's what Nnamdi Kanu is trying to say. That there's no charge against him, not even one, and that this court has no jurisdiction. Therefore, he asked the court to rule on this immediately, to rule on the fact that he has no case to answer and that this court has no jurisdiction. However, Justice Omotosho says, not now. Justice Omotosho told him that the court will take his motion at the proper stage, not now. Nnamdi Kanu continued, if there's no valid charge, there's no further stage. If you don't have any charge, if there's no valid charge against me, why should you have further stage? It shouldn't be. There's no foundation. There's no law. There's no local standing. And therefore, Nnamdi Kanu is requesting for this case to be dismissed unconditionally so he can go home and join his family. And then Nnamdi Kanu went ahead to read the judgment of the Supreme Court on 15th, 2023. You know, the Supreme Court ruled on this matter, ruled in favor of Nnamdi Kanu in almost everything, except to let him to go. In the Supreme Court decision of December 15, 2023, the Supreme Court sided with Nnamdi Kanu with everything. The invasion of his home was wrong. The illegal rendition from Kenya, this was wrong, according to the Supreme Court. And even the Supreme Court revealed that the law being used to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been repealed from the Nigerian Constitution. And that was what Nnamdi Kanu is trying to point out here. And so this trial is a jamboree trial. It's a frivolous trial. It's a just waste of time. That is what Nnamdi Kanu is trying to let them know on the 4th. And then Nnamdi Kanu continued. He read the paragraph that said that the charge used against him does not exist in Nigerian law, according to the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court delivered their judgment on December 15, 2023, they reiterated that the charge used against Nnamdi Kanu does not exist in the Nigerian law and must be amended. Since 2023, that the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land of Nigeria, told the world that the charge, that the law being used to charge Mazi Nnamdi Kanu does not exist, that they should go and amend it up till today, 2 years, going to 2 years now. The Nigerian government have not amended that law. And therefore, Nnamdi Kanu continued that you refused to amend this law. You forced me to take plea to charge that does not exist. Nnamdi Kanu was saying that even though the Supreme Court told them to amend this charge, this law, so that it can be in tandem, it can be in, it can fall in line with the charge, they have not done so yet. And therefore, Nnamdi Kanu is saying, then now force him to plead to a charge that does not exist in law. That was the contention in the November 4th trial 2 days ago. Later on, Nnamdi Kanu turned to the lead prosecutor, that is San Awomolo. He turned to the leading prosecuting counsel, which is San Awomolo, and said to him, name the law I have broken. Name that law that I have broken that you are being prosecuting me for. Awomolo shuffled his papers, didn't see anything. And Kanu repeated to him, name it. Name the section. Name the statute. I am waiting. Name the law. Name the section where it is written. Name the statute. I am waiting. Awomolo was just looking. Because there's no law. If there's no law, there shouldn't be any trial. If there's no law, what am I doing here? If there's no law, why am I being in solitary confinement, detention? If there's no law, why are you wasting the meager Nigerian resources trying me? Why can't you let me to go home? And Kanu continued. No written law, no offense. If there's no written law, since you cannot give me this written law where it is written, therefore there's no offense. And therefore, if there's no offense, there should not be no trial. If there's no written law, there should be no offense. And if there's no offense, there's no trial. And Kanu is right. Kanu is completely right. And the Judge Omotosho, however, disagreed. He had disagreed because he's in charge of the courts. He can do whatever he wants in his court, whether it is right or wrong, as long as he satisfies the directive given to him by those running Nigeria to jail Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unjustly. He disagreed. He said that the rule only matters at the end, at conviction. That's what Omotosho said. That the rule matters only at the end, at conviction, after he has convicted him. You see what is playing around in that court? At the end, that is what matters. Whatever he says is what we go, irrespective of whether there's any written law, any offense, any trial, irrespective of that. They don't care. Whatever Omotosho says, that's what the government will follow, irrespective of whether it is right or wrong. And that is why we have maintained in Colombo and Wisdom University that this foreign judiciary that we are practicing in Africa has failed Africans because there's no justice. There's no justice. They're just playing to the gallery of their masters, the colonial masters. And that's why we are saying we should go back to our own ancestral, traditional Nsane and Alokoshi. Nsane and Alokoshi are our judiciary system before the arrival of the colonial masters. And you can agree with us today by what you are seeing going on in the trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that the colonial foreign judiciary imposed on us by the colonial masters is a failure. And then, immediately after Judge Omotosho said that rule only matters at the end at conviction. Nnamdi Kanu immediately replied him and said, it is void from the beginning. It is void from the beginning because there's no written law under which you are charging me. And therefore, there shouldn't be any offense and any trial. So if you bypass all these facts and then come to the end, as you have said, then it means that everything is void and nullified or nullity. That's what Nnamdi Kanu is saying. It's null and void. Your judgment is null and void. That's what Nnamdi Kanu is trying to say here. And then Nnamdi Kanu quoted an old British case between Antique versus Carrington in 1765. 1765, the case between Antique and Carrington in Britain in 1765. See how far Nnamdi Kanu researched. How many centuries ago? 1765, a case between Antique and Carrington in the year 1765. That is how far Nnamdi Kanu had been researching on this case. And he quoted that case. And told the judge that if it is not in the law books, it is not law. If the law under which you are trying me is not in your law book, it is not law. He said that the judge must take official notice that the laws used against him were repealed. That law was repealed in 2013. The law was repealed in 2013. The law that they are using to try Mazi Nnamdi Kanu today. They don't have any law written down for this for the charges. And that's why Nnamdi Kanu is saying, if there's no law written down, there should be no offense and there should be no trial. At this point, Nnamdi Kanu told them, I will defend myself now if you show me the law. If you show me the law now, I will mount to the witness stand and start to defend myself right away. But show me the law first. Nobody have the law. Nigerian government doesn't have the law written down anywhere. Omotosho doesn't have the law. The prosecuting counsel, Awomolo, doesn't have the law. So what are they doing there? Why are they then trying him? That is the question the world should be asking Nigerian government. Then, at this time, Omotosho using his power and said to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, are you ready to open your defense? Are you ready to open your defense? And then Nnamdi Kanu answered again, I will open my defense right now, this minute, if you show me the law I have broken. So what transpired on 11/4 is about showing Nnamdi Kanu the law. Where is the law? Where is the law? The prosecution is saying, start your defense. Nnamdi Kanu is saying, show me the law. If there's no law, there shouldn't be any offense, there shouldn't be any trial. So this is mainly what happened on the 4th. And then Nnamdi Kanu concluded that this is persecution. If there's no written law, there shouldn't be any offense, there shouldn't be any trial. If you continue to do so, it is called persecution. That's what Nnamdi Kanu made them to understand, made the world to understand that this is persecution and that Nigeria is not following their own law. Because if they're following their own law, Nnamdi Kanu should be in his house and not in DSS custody. Nnamdi Kanu continued. When a court refuses to acknowledge the law, refuses to obey Supreme Court, and insults and insists on trial with no charge, that is not justice, it is persecution. When a court refuses to acknowledge the law, because you don't have a law. If you refuse to acknowledge that you don't have no law, and even refuse to obey the Supreme Court that says that you don't have a law, and insist on trial with no charge, that is not justice, that is persecution. So what Nnamdi Kanu is going on today is persecution. Persecution of Nnamdi Kanu, persecution of the Igbo race, persecution of the Biafran people, and persecution of African people at large. That's what it is. Because the law, the foreign judiciary, the colonial foreign judiciary, which was imposed on Africans, this thing you see going on within Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria today, it's all over Africa. It's not only Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And so it is persecution. That's how Africans are being persecuted. Because they're not following that law. They are following whatever their colonial masters tell them. At this point, that was when the judge adjourned the case to yesterday. Yesterday, November 5, 2025. And so this is where we will conclude what happened on 11/4 in this lecture. So what happened on this on 11/4 is Nnamdi Kanu asking the court to show them the law. Nobody was able to show them the law. And then Nnamdi Kanu concluded that when a government, when the court refuses to acknowledge the law, refuses to obey the Supreme Court, and insists on trial with no charge, that is not justice, that is persecution. We want you to know that what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is going on in Nigerian court is persecution, not trial. This is what transpired on 11/4. So now let's go to what happened on 11/5. What happened on 11/5 is just mainly threats. Threats of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the Omotosho, Justice Omotosho, threatening Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on the 5th. That is what happened. Because on the 4th, they couldn't show any law. Then on the 5th, Omotosho, James Omotosho, said that, let me tell you what he said. That because Kanu insisted again on this 5th that you should show me the law. If there's no law, there's no offense, and there should be no trial. And that any trial resulting from no law, resulting from disobedience of the Supreme Court, is null and void. It's not justice, but persecution. And so, what Dr. Omotosho said is that they adjourned the case to tomorrow, saying that it is the last opportunity given to Kanu to defend himself. That he's adjourning this case up to tomorrow, 7th, as the last opportunity, that they gave Kanu time, all this time to defend himself. He refused to defend himself, saying there's no law. What transpired on the 4th? That he is giving him up to tomorrow to defend himself. Instead, he will foreclose the defense. He will foreclose the means, closing down Kanu's defense and making a ruling afterwards. That's only what transpired. And I will read some of the things that happened, yesterday. Justice Omotosho continued. We had adjourned till today, talking about they adjourned from the 4th to the 5th yesterday, for the defendant to put in his defense or be deemed closed. So they came in yesterday, today, on the 5th, for the Kanu to present his defense or close the case. That was what Omotosho had in mind yesterday, is for Kanu to present his defense or he will close the case. But on the other hand, he changed his mind and said that he is adjourning the case. He's moving the case till tomorrow, 7th, for Kanu to defend himself. That if Kanu fails to defend himself tomorrow, he will close the case. He will close Kanu's defense and then proceed to judgment. Are you reading what I'm reading? Are you seeing what we are seeing from Kolam Hadum? That something is fishing? You don't have a law. What are you trying the person for? You can't provide the law, and you are running to conviction. You are running to ruling. Come on. There's something underground. We want you to know from Kolam Hadum Wisdom University that there's something fishing. And the world will know at the end what they are cooking. Whatever they are cooking will come out very, very soon, because Nnamdi Kanu is a very well experienced person, a leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, more than 70 million people, a leader of more than 70 million people you are playing with. He is well knowledgeable. At one time, Omotosho described him as an economist. Nnamdi Kanu studied geopolitics, political economy, geopolitical economist. That's what Nnamdi Kanu. So he knows geopolitics. He knows politics. If you come to politics, Nnamdi Kanu is the master. If you come to law, even though he's not a lawyer, he's a master too. Look at the research he made on that case of 1765 and brought it on the table, on the court of Omotosho. And so all they are doing now is threatening Kanu to defend himself, even without no law. That is the irony of the whole thing. Threatening him to defend himself where you don't have any law to charge him with. And Omotosho said, I will give the last opportunity to the defendant, referred to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to put in his defense. Failure which he will be deemed closed, Justice Omotosho added, before adjourning till November 7, tomorrow. Earlier, before Justice Omotosho made that comment, the prosecuting counsel, led by Awomolo, had urged the court to foreclose Kanu's defense, noting that he had already used up 5 of the 6 days allotted for his defense without presenting any witness or evidence. You see, you know that in this colonial foreign judiciary that Africans are practicing, the prosecutor and the judge are working together. So Awomolo, the prosecutor, is already telling the judge to foreclose Kanu's defense and go straight to judgment. You see how they are working together? And so that is all that transpired in the court of 11/5/2025 yesterday, where Justice Omotosho was, threatening Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, warning him that if he doesn't present his defense tomorrow, that he will foreclose the case. He will close his defense and go straight to trial. That is what happened on 11/5/2025. And if you are an Igbo man, if you are a Biafran, if you are an African, why are you not following this case? Why are you doing you don't care? But you are living in foreign land. If you are living outside Igbo land, you are living in foreign land. If you are living outside Igbo land is the former Eastern region. If you are living in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Sokoto, in Lagos, you are living outside Igbo land. Talk less of those living in West African countries like Senegal, Burkina Faso, Ghana, or those living across the Atlantic Ocean, United Kingdom, France, Belgium, Spain, Netherlands, or United States, or Canada, or Saudi Arabia, or United Arab Emirates. Anywhere you are outside Igbo land, why are you there? Are you not asking yourself question? You are there because you don't have the opportunities that you have in those countries in your own land. Why? Are you supposed to be in that place? Is our land supposed to be part of Nigeria, if not for the amalgamation and the coming of the colonial masters? Are we not living our lives before they came? Why can't you support Kanu? Because dismantling of these colonial boundaries, which they carved out in 1884 to 1885 in Berlin, Germany, where they brought out the map of Africa on the table and share Africa to themselves. That's where the British got this area called Nigeria. Dismantling of colonial boundaries is what every African should be working towards for our own freedom, so we can control our own resources, so that we can have a boundary where we say, we Igbos own this place. So we can develop that land, so that we can be in the United Nations. So wherever you are, imagine na obasalagi, because na foreign land that we know now. Kedije, your plan. Okara mani no na benagi, dani no nezi. Akonubadi na we na pata nezi. One ki wenete no no. I wenete go no no. Or do safe with you na aga no no la. Biko kwado no Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Support him. Support him. Because he's fighting for the restoration of Biafra. What is going on in the Nigerian courts is between the Biafran nation being represented by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian government. And Nigerian government, being whom they are, they want to win it. Even without no law, they still want to jail Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Isn't that persecution? That is persecution. It is persecution of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and persecution of the Igbos and Biafrans and Africans with the foreign colonial judiciary which they are practicing in our land. And with this, we shall bring it today's lecture to an end. We have to do a second lecture. We have to analyze the interview that Mazi Matthias Ezak had with two Igbo Catholic monks, Izuchukwu Ejiofor, Mel, and Ijeoma Dike Ibano. The interview he had with them. Join us at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time or 8 p.m. Nigerian time. That interview is very, 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 very important. We deem it important to use it to educate our people, to understand that we are in a mess if we continue to follow these Western values, Western systems imposed on our people forcefully by the colonial masters. It is time to say no, to get away from those colonial institutions and go back to our own. Join us at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time for that review. Very, very, very important. Finally, join us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell button when you subscribe, push that bell button so that anytime we have a new lecture, you'll be the first to get it. Also, like, comment, and share. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And then, finally, if you want to educate our people, this university will invite you if you qualify. If we check your profile and you are qualified to come on board to educate our people on things that will be valuable to them, we will allow you to do so. Also, if you have any advertisements that you want us to be running for you, let us know so that we can also do it for you. We are here for the Igbo people. We are Igbo-centric university. We are not only Igbo-centric, we are Igbo-centric, Biafran-centric, African-centric university. So join us and you will not regret it. Again, thank you very much for joining us in this segment. Join us again in the next hour or so, 1 p.m. for the analysis of that interview by Matthias Ezak and the two Igbo Catholic monks. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.